Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody here with you today with another tutorial. So this one is how I do my different flip pockets. Now, I know you can buy those flip pockets that are pretty much already ready. You just have to take the adhesive off the edge and use them. Well, I don't really need them because I figured out how to do it on my own, and so I just wanted to share that with you because I've had a lot of questions about that in the past. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways here. This is going to be a flip pocket where the cards are actually exposed. This is one where they're going to be enclosed in the plastic, but also be a flip pocket, and then this one's going to be a side flip pocket. So let me show you how to do each one of these. Now I'm just using plain cardstock, just in different colors, so you can kind of see, hopefully, exactly what I'm doing. I thought using pattern cards would make it a little bit too hard to really see exactly what I was doing. So we'll see how well you can actually see this. I hope it works out well. So let's start with our exposed cards first. This one works particularly well. Now, I always use Design A page protectors, but I have some random miscellaneous page protectors in my stash, so I just pulled out this one. But really, this would work with any of them. The thing to keep in mind is whether you're using the front of the page where the openings are at the top, or you're using the back of the page where there are no openings. So this one where the cards are exposed only is going to work when you have the opening on top. So it's either going to be your top row or the front side of the page protector. So just keep that in mind. So we have our 3 cards here. You're going to have your card that's in the pocket, and then you're going to have your flip card, one that'll be the top, and then one that's kind of the underneath. So those are your cards. So let me show you how to do this one. This one's actually probably the easiest. So as I mentioned in my other tutorial, if you watched it, and it was on making custom size page protectors, I have a ton of just random page protectors sitting in my stash. And sometimes when I see them at Tuesday morning on crazy clearance, even if they're designs that I don't use, I'll still buy them if it's like $1 or something like that, because I'll use them for these types of projects. So this is just a random miscellaneous 12 by 12. It came out of a post bound scrapbook, which I don't use, and so the holes are not punched properly, and it's like a strange size because it's got this extra 1/4 inch like binding here, so I don't use these for anything but this type of project. So when I'm using the exposed flip, what I'm basically doing is I'm going to put this in there in the pocket, and then I'm going to have these, and I'm going to create a bit of a hinge, which is going to be sandwiched between these cards, and then it's also going to be glued on the back of here. That way these are attached to each other. I'm not actually attaching it to the divided page protector at all. I'm just attaching it to the card that's in the page protector. So let me show you what I mean. And I like to use the edge of a current page protector. It just makes it easier. Now, if you don't have an edge, you can take a single piece and score it and use like a bone folder and make a crease. But it's just easier if you're going to use, if you have the edge of a page protector that already has that crease, it's just easier to use that. So basically I need something that's going to be almost 6 inches wide. I like to leave a little bit of a gap, that way you don't have any overhang, and then you want at least about 2 inches. So I'm just going to cut this, the edge, mind you, about 5.5 by 2 inches. And this does not have to be exact by any means. And it helps if you cut totally through. Okay, so I have this. I hope you can see this, but basically I cut 2 inches almost this direction and 5.5 inches approximately that direction. But it was on the edge, so I have a top and a bottom, and then you can see that seam. So then what I do is I take my cards, just make sure, you have to make sure your orientation is correct. You want to make sure when you flip it up, this is the right direction. So I'm going to take my bottom piece and I'm going to add adhesive to the top. And you can do this any number of ways. I have not had any problem with my tape runner, but if you want to use the red line sticky tape, you definitely can. And if you're at all concerned about it falling apart, I would definitely go ahead and suggest doing that. Now, mind you, you only did 5.5, so you don't want to take your glue all the way to the end. and then I run it down. Okay, you're going to open your hinge and you're going to place it directly on here. You just have to be careful how you're placing it. And actually, I like to put the hinge down and then put this on top of it. You just have to be careful because once you stick it down, it's stuck. Okay, you got it on. See? It's adhered to the back right here. And I don't use the back side of my cards when they're in my page protector. I make sure that I always put something on the other side. So as you can see, or maybe you can't see, there's about 1/8 of an inch that I left above the card in between the seam. So you can see it just like that. So I've got this other flap, and that's where I'm going to put these. I'm going to put one on the front and then one on the other side. So let's go ahead and do this. And you can put your adhesive directly on the plastic. I just am hesitant to do that on the first part because it would be very easy for that just to shut together. And one easy way to make sure you get this lined up is to just lay your card exactly, since they are the same size, on top of that one, and then close this. So there you go. Our flip is coming together, as you can see. And then do the same thing. Put the adhesive, oh, it is not lined up. Let's try that again. There we go, that's much better. There we go, see? All right, now put your adhesive on the other side, and this time, you're going to want to run adhesive along the entire card because you want to close these cards in completely. And I do add a ton of adhesive. Again, you just want to make sure that your flip is the right direction. This is going to be flipping up. And you're just going to line this up with the other card exactly. And as you can see, my cards were not cut perfectly. So the only thing I do is I just go back. If that bothers you, sometimes it doesn't bother people. Usually it bothers me, so I fix it. Just trim off the edges. And you can either create your hinge, your flip before you embellish or after. I always actually do it after, just in case I need to like fold some washi tape over to the other side or something. All right, so there's our flip card. Here's you've got your front, your top, and then your one in the pocket. So this is what this looks like. So all of this is adhered together. And again, like I said, this is only going to work on the front side of a page protector or on the top row. It's going to go just like that. And if you want, it depends on the page protector. These seem a little bit looser than the actual Becky Higgins ones. You could even cut this card about 1/8 of an inch wider so that it's a little bit more snug in your page protector. But let's see. Here's another example of where you could put it. Right here. This one, see, it's already snugger in this pocket. More snugger. And then on the back side, it's not going to fit in any of these, but it will fit on the top row. So even on the back side of your page protector, you still have a flip. All right, so that's the first one. And this, again, is probably my most used method because it's just the simplest. All right, now we're going to do the enclosed card flip. And basically, what you're going to do is this is going to already be in the pocket, and then you're going to enclose this in a flip pocket. So these are not going to be attached. However, because this one, you can either do washi tape or sewing. I like to sew just because it just seems a little bit more secure than the washi tape. Or you can use red line tape actually, but I always sew for this part. because you're going to actually sew along the current seam that's there, I always put this card first, just in case for some reason I stitch over it and I can't get anything in there later. So we're going to create a little pocket for this one, and then we're going to sew right along the stitching line above where it is now. All right. And this is most similar to the ones that you get at like Michael's. All right. So on this one, I'm going to take the bottom of this page protector, the bottom corner here, because it has the most finished sides. So all I have to finish is this one side, and then the top is where it'll be stitched. So you could do this any number of ways. You could do it this way. You could do it the other way. I'm actually going to go ahead and do it this way just because it will make the most out of this page protector. So as you can see, it's in there, and I'm going to cut this to about 4.5 tall, because you want to make sure you have enough to actually do your flip pocket with. By right at 6 wide. I guess it's like 6 1/8 because you have to allow enough for the card. All right. Now I am going to not sew the side. I'm going to sew along the top, but not the side. Now, if you want, you cut this a little bit longer and sew along the side so you truly have an enclosed card that cannot come out. You could use washi tape to finish off the side if you want, just like this. Just covering part of it and then fold it over to the back side. Then you'll have an enclosed card. You just need to trim off the part that hangs down. And make sure you don't put this up to where you're going to stitch. You could do any number of things like that. I don't mind having the side open because I'm going to sew the top. So just having one open side is not a big deal. Now, if this card is really embellished and there's any concern about something falling out, I will go ahead and close the side with washi tape. I usually don't stitch the side because I don't really like the look of two stitched sides, but just to give you some options. All right, so now I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine. I've got my 1/2 inch that is sticking up right here, and there's 2 ways you could do this. You can either sew directly right here, or you can flip it up like this, sew along this line, and then fold it over. So that's actually what I'm going to do. And the easiest way to do this is to take washi tape and go ahead and put it where you want your card. This stuff, especially if you're not an avid sewer, these things slip all around whenever you're sewing on them. And I would suggest doing this without any other cards in here. Okay. Secure this as much as possible, and then I'll secure right here. I'm not going to stitch right here. Where I'm stitching is going to be right here along the seam, and then you can either stitch right on the seam or right underneath the seam. You do not want to go above the seam because then you're going to be going into the space of the card above it. Now this one you could do either on the front or the back because you're not actually attaching it to the card that's in the pocket. This is a method that you can do either on the front or the back. It's the exact same. It doesn't matter if your little tail here overhangs the front or the back. It does not matter. So let me go stitch this and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I have my finished pocket here. So as you can see, I sewed right along the line. I did right under the seam line actually, and I do back stitch when I do this. I don't back stitch whenever I sew on my layouts because I secure the ends with washi tape on the back, but since this is on the page protector and there's not going to be any securing of washi tape on the back, I go ahead and finish back stitch. Let's take this washi tape off, the washi tape that I used to secure it. All right, and then you can just flip it down. Now it's going to automatically rise up because there's not a crease here, but that's where you take your bone folder and crease it. Excuse me. There we go. Alright, so there is my enclosed flip. Now, if this bothers you, you can cut it shorter before you sew it. You can cut it as it's on there. It doesn't normally bother me though. If you really want to cut it though, I would just be very careful about cutting along or even using a X-Acto knife like this and just cutting right along it. You don't want to cut too close to your stitching though, because then your stitching can actually be cut, and then of course then your pocket's going to fall off, and then it kind of defeats the purpose. Okay, let's see, did I get it all that time? Here, I'm just going to use my scissors to cut the last little bit. There we go. So then, here you go. You have your enclosed flip pocket. So now this card is protected, it's enclosed, you can't actually get to it now. I did a pretty good job. I did not actually stitch over the, or stitch closed this pocket. And with that being said, I could have even left the tail on and just tucked it behind the card. That would not have been a problem. It just depends on how good your stitching is. So I can technically now even still pull out that card. This one, if you don't want the washi on the end, just like I had said before, this card could even be pulled out from the side like that. So there's the enclosed card. So we have our exposed card flip pocket, we have our enclosed card flip pocket. And this one can be done on the front of page protectors or along the top, and this one can be done anywhere. Except for along the top. It won't work along the top because you don't really have anything to stitch it to unless you want to stitch on top of the card. So this is really for anything other than the top. Okay, now let me show you to do the side flip. Excuse me, got a bit of a cold. Okay, so this one is very similar to this one, but you're going to do it to the side. So you're going to have your card already in your pocket here. This one again is not going to be attached, and then you're basically going to do this exact same thing but on the side. And I typically only do this with 3x4 cards. I've done it with a 4x6 card before, but it's easiest with a 3x4 card because what happens when you have a 4x6 card is it starts to get a little floppy and saggy because of the weight of the card. The 3x4 card, you have a longer stitched part this way than the width of the card, whereas if you're doing a 4x6 card, you only have 4 inches stitched here, whereas it's 6 inches long. So basically we're going to do the exact same thing. And then I'll show you another way on this page protector. So we've already used a good portion of this page protector. Now I'm actually going to take it and put it towards where the holes are. And I'm going to actually use this current seam. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this page protector here and here, and you could do the same thing. You can either leave this pocket exposed or you could use washi to close it. Again, like I mentioned before, I don't really like the stitching on two sides, so what I'm actually going to do is close this in with washi tape. So let me cut it. And I have this much left of this page protector. I will keep it because I will use it for different things. Same thing here. That's a little bit of a hinge. You could use that at the top of a card. Alright, and so I've got this here. It's closed in on two sides. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to go ahead and close this side in with washi tape. And I would pick a washi tape that actually coordinated with my papers so that it was a complement to it. You could definitely stitch this end if you prefer, just to make sure you leave enough of the page protector there to stitch on. You can always trim off any excess if you would like. Alright, so I've got this. Now I've actually got the hole still here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it right inside about 1/8 of an inch from this seam. This is my stitching line that I'm going to use when I'm actually attaching it to the other page protector. Okay, so I just cut those holes off. And there we go. So here's my flip pocket. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to lay it here, secure it with washi tape, and just stitch right along the edge. Now, because this one cannot be tucked in, I would definitely suggest cutting it a little bit closer so you don't have quite as much of a little gap there. So let's secure it to our page protector with washi. And this one, you could fold it under if you wanted to, but there is no point to this one because it's going to flip either direction anyways. Oops. Okay, I'm going to take, that one is attached. I'm going to take this one out while I stitch, and I'm just going to stitch right along here. Okay, I'm back with that card stitch, so let me again trim off my ends. Take off my washi tape. If y'all are regular viewers, this is why I go through washi tape so quickly, because I use washi tape all the time. Alright, and then I also go ahead and fold it the opposite direction and score the seam, that way it doesn't constantly flip back. So then you've got your side flip here. And because you did not sew over any openings, everything is still functional. You can still take things in and out. You can still work the other side. There's no problem whatsoever. And let me add this one back to the top. So there you go. So you have your 3 flip options. You've got your side flip, your enclosed card flip. Both of these are stitched down. And then you've got your exposed card, which is not stitched down. I suppose if this was in the middle here, you could definitely stitch along the top to secure it to the page. Like if this was right here, I've never done this, but you could definitely do it. You could open your flip and stitch right here. That way this card would be secure as well and wouldn't be going anywhere. But I don't have any problems with it personally, so I don't ever do that. Alright, so those are your 3 flip options. Just to give you a couple tips, my tips are, I always use white thread. I feel like any other color thread is too noticeable, but if you're having a real dark, if you're going with a really dark color scheme, maybe a black thread would be better. I always back stitch. That's number 2. Number 3 is to keep all of your extra page protectors. Even ones like this that are divided, you could trim out a little pocket here, and then all you would have to do is stitch down one side. You wouldn't even have to enclose this side with washi tape, because if you were just cutting this off and using this as your side flip, then you wouldn't have to enclose it with washi tape. It's the same thing with the 4x6 pockets. And then my last tip is really just be creative. If you have something that you want to do a flip pocket with, try it. Why not? Just see if it works. So I really hope that this was helpful for you all. I enjoy doing these. I like interactive elements in my albums, and it really doesn't make it very bulky. I try to keep a lot of the bulky elements off of my pages anyways when I'm doing Project Life, but adding just another single card here really doesn't add a whole lot, especially, I mean, I don't do flip pockets every single week or every single layout, but I do them every 5 or 6, I would say. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.